Welcome back, Chelsea fans, to another episode of the London is Blue podcast, YouTube edition, where we are previewing Chelsea Women's FA Cup final against Manchester United on Sunday at 7:30 Central Time, 8:30 Eastern in the States. It's going to be an incredibly tough matchup. We know that Chelsea and trophies go together like fine wine and cheese, but this is going to be a stern test against a good Manchester United team who qualified for the Champions League next year by finishing third in the league table. The question is, does Chelsea have enough to get one last match over the line after finishing an undefeated league season, a Subway Cup, League Cup campaign, and having the potential to go undefeated in domestic competitions in 2024-25 would be an incredible achievement. The FA Cup at Wembley, huge occasion against a rival, massive implications on the line. And that's really the history of this competition for Chelsea. We know that last year they got knocked out of the competition by Manchester United. To have the opportunity to finish on a treble for this season, to finish on an undefeated, unrivaled, as the team would say, domestic treble is just something incredibly special. So I think if you are a fan of Chelsea women, if you're just getting into the women's game, this is a big occasion, and Sunday is going to be something to watch because Manchester United have historically given Chelsea some pretty stern tests. As I said before, it's not always been the prettiest football. They are a difficult team to play against, and so to have an undefeated, unrivaled, unbeaten domestic treble would go down in the history books. Now, Chelsea's road to the final is relatively straightforward. And on January 12th, I should say, a 4-0 victory over Charlton with Ramirez, Wrighton, Beaver-Jones, and Charles getting the goals. Simple, straightforward, no issues. On February 9th, Chelsea played Everton at home. That was a 4-1 victory. Kat Mack, Myra Ramirez, Micah Hamano, and Sandy Baltimore on the score sheet there. On March 9th, this was before the 4 in a row against Man City stretch that we had in March, which was nuts. Chelsea scraped by in a 1-0 win over Crystal Palace with a Lauren James goal in the 64th minute. And then on April 12th in the semifinal against Liverpool, Chelsea went down early. Aaron Cuthbert equalized in first half stoppage time, and then Aggie Beaver-Jones scored an unforgettable goal in the 90th minute +4 in stoppage time to give Chelsea the victory and advance us all the way to the FA Cup final. Now, our history against Manchester United is incredibly good. In 15 total matches across all competitions, Chelsea have won 13, Manchester United have won 1, and there's been 1 draw. And so the one victory for Manchester United was last year's semifinal in the FA Cup, where they knocked us out at Lee Sports Village. That was a difficult one for Chelsea to take. That was kind of the end of the season, the end of Emma Hayes' reign, and Chelsea were kind of feeling down at that part of the year, and then rallied to beat Manchester United 6-0 on the final game of the season to claim their 5th straight WSL. Of course, we've gone on to win our 6th. So again, this is in recent history, United's given us trouble. Even this year in both league games, they've been 1-0 home and away scrappy wins for Chelsea. This has not been the cakewalk that you would expect. And so despite the record being so lopsided, the fact that Chelsea have not only, I think struggled sometimes with the physicality of United and the way they've set themselves up. They usually play in a defensive kind of setup, but the goal scoring hasn't been incredibly efficient recently this season. And so that's just something in the second half of the year that Chelsea need to overcome in this game to get it done at Wembley, because United will put up a really solid defensive block, and I'm sure Chelsea will have to figure out a way to get around it. Now, injuries. This is a pretty simple and straightforward case. We know the long-term injuries. We will not see Sam Kerr in this game, or Sophie Ingle, of course, who is departing the club in the summer. Those guys are out, unfortunately. Lauren James is still likely out. She has a long-term hamstring injury that's going to be really kind of a lengthy one to recover from. And then Myra Ramirez is a 50-50 to play in this one. Obviously was held out of the last league game. And so that is just something to kind of note as you're preparing yourself for what the projected lineup will be in this one, because For me, if I'm looking at this, and I know that by and large, Manchester United will set up either in a deep lying 4-4-1-1 or a 3-4-3. They've kind of played different variations of this formation this year. I think that Chelsea will have to be pragmatic with the way that they attack. And I think that will lead us to a pretty straightforward starting 11 for Sunday with enough balance to ensure that Manchester United don't have the ability to counterattack at will, but enough attacking thrust to get the goal or two that we need to lift the trophy at the end of the day. And so with that, I think kind of previewing my lineup here for Sunday, Hampton in goal, obviously, Lucy Bronze, Natalie Bjorn, Millie Bright. I have Niamh Charles starting at left back because I do believe you're going to need a little bit more of a defensive mind playing that left back role rather than Sandy Baltimore, who's been excellent this year. And this is nothing against Sandy in the left back role. I just think you really do want 4 defenders back there instead of kind of the pivoted 3 defenders with Sandy getting up the left-hand side a little bit more. So I do think that extra coverage will do us well because I want Sandy playing left wing. So in midfield, I have Kira Walsh and Erin Cuthbert with no third kind of midfielder there. I think Sandy Baltimore on the left-hand side. I think Katmack through the middle. I think Katmack as a number 10 in this game is a super interesting option, able to break lines with her passing, able to score goals, gives us an additional threat without LJ in the lineup. I think is a very, very interesting option for Sonia Bonpastor. I do think JRK will be on the right wing, but if she has a tough start in this one, she didn't play extremely well against Manchester United a couple weeks ago. I could see this being switched around a little bit and some different options being offered because Aggie Beaver-Jones, I believe, in lieu of Myra Ramirez's recent injury troubles, will start up front. And there could be a situation where Myra comes on as a sub in the second half, and maybe that pushes Aggie out to the right wing. But with the way that Aggie's been playing, her goal scoring, her efficiency, it would be hard to leave her out of the starting lineup for this one. I do think that you need that attacking thrust to make it work through the middle. So I do think in this situation, it's almost like a 4-4-2 or a 4-2-3-1. I think that Katmack and Aggie could play off of each other as second strikers for each other, which I think would be a dynamic for Manchester United's likely 3-4-3 that they would not enjoy defending against too much, and that would push them back into their defensive shell a little bit more than we've seen. So that's kind of my starting 11 in whichever way you want to construct it in terms of formation. But I do think there are going to be super subs in this one. I think there's a chance you see Myra, like I said, but I do believe that Micah Hamano, Guro Wrighton, and Shuka Nuskin will come on and provide relief in the second half to a team that's probably been playing a high intensity football game because this is, again, United and Chelsea are it's a very physical matchup. Both teams don't like each other. It's going to, on a big pitch at Wembley, there's going to be a lot of chasing. There's going to be a lot of long balls over the top. United like to play those long balls. So for me, anyway, you're going to definitely need your super subs, maybe 4 or 5 super subs. But I think someone like Micah Hamano and Guro Wrighton could add a little bit to the attack. I think Shuka Nuskin might be brought in to add a little bit of steel into the midfield. And, maybe Myra gets a few minutes up top to kind of put the game away. That would be a pretty fascinating end of the season for her. And what's been kind of an up and down year, frankly. Maybe hasn't kicked on as much as we had hoped in this season as she did previously. What does Chelsea have to look out for in this game? And I think that that's the real question because Manchester United on the whole are a very poor scoring team. This is not a team that has done a ton of goal scoring this year. They offer limited threat, but they also don't give up anything. I mean, they had the second best goals against in the league this year with 16 to Chelsea's 13. This is, again, an impressive outfit. And they were actually leading that race until the last game of the season where they gave up a ton of goals against Arsenal. They gave up 4 goals. So they were pretty watertight until that last game of the season. But they've only scored 41 to Chelsea's 56 in the league. And so this is just not a team that free-flowingly scores a lot. However, in our last matchup against them, Bizet and Mallard were very, very efficient on that right-hand side of a 3-4-3. And so I think if you're looking at that superimposed over my Chelsea lineup for this weekend, that means that Millie Bright, Neve Charles, probably Aaron Cuthbert on that left-hand side, and Sandy Baltimore doing a little bit of tracking back are going to have to be very, very aware. I think a lot of the play in that previous matchup came down that right-hand side. Mallard was a pest. She did pressure a lot up front and caused a lot of uncomfortable moments for us in that game. I think was unlucky not to score in that game. So we're going to have to really be aware. And Bizet has been one of their top performers all season. And so that right-hand side for me is the critical matchup. If Neve Charles, Millie Bright, Sandy Baltimore, et cetera, are able to control that right-hand side, I think their left-hand side is not necessarily as efficient. It's not as proficient getting the ball forward. And I think it would cause them a lot of problems in attack. And so I'd love to know what you think as we get ready for what could be a treble for Chelsea, an undefeated domestic treble, which would be an extraordinary achievement for an extraordinary team. Despite what the award shows would tell you at the end of the year, this is an extraordinary team, and winning trophies is a team achievement. There is no better team in England than Chelsea Football Club, and so really hope that you pay attention to the match on Sunday. It's an early kick, but it's the FA Cup final, so you have to tune in. Come on. And look, until next time, keep the blue flag flying high.